Revealed. The incredible moment she sat at the wrong table discovering a billionaire's true love. Emily's heart raced as she stepped into the gala, the glitzy crowd swirling around her like a colorful whirlwind. She had spent her days at the diner, serving plates of pancakes and coffee, and now, enveloped by crystalline chandeliers and laughter, the air smelled sweeter like hope. Her grandmother's memories whispered in her ear, reminding her of the dreams they shared. One day, Emily would own a small business, guided by her love for cooking. But first, she had to survive. Lost in the harmony of an extravagant evening, Emily noticed a doorway that led to the kitchen and decided to slip in, hoping to find a quiet moment. She turned, believing herself to be hidden in shadows, but instead, her feet carried her to a table marked reserved. She plopped down, exhaustion pulling at her with a sigh, only to realize she was surrounded by billionaires. The glances shot her way were sharp, cutting through her confidence. Panic absorbed her, but she held her ground, unsure if she could muster the courage to leave. The conversation buzzed around her, filled with words of charity and prestige, yet in the middle of it all, she chimed in with her tales of night shifts and caring for her grandmother. The guests leaned in. Jack, a striking figure radiating warmth, nodded knowingly, and she felt seen. They shared pieces of their lives like puzzle pieces fitting together. Jack spoke of a childhood colored with hardship amidst wealth, drawing parallels that dissolved the invisible barriers between them. As laughter spilled from her lips, she sensed an unexpected chemistry, grounding and undeniable. Yet, just as the atmosphere turned intoxicating, a storm cloud gathered. A familiar face walked by, her past a confrontation that threatened everything. The whispers of judgment seeped into the air. Could she endure the shame? Her grandmother's sacrifices flashed before her eyes, igniting a fierce resolve. Just as she contemplated her next move, a sudden silence spread through the crowd, all eyes on her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Emily felt the weight pressing down as she weighed Jack's gaze against the noise around her. Each whisper echoed her thoughts. What kind of family would accept someone with such a sordid past? But within her, her grandmother's lessons rang clear. Strength, integrity, those aren't just words. They are what make a person whole. As the tension spiraled, Emily stood taller, tapping into the grit that had carried her this far. She prepared to reclaim her story, embodying the resilience she had inherited. The murmurs intensified as she opened her mouth, all of them waiting for her next words like thunder before a storm. Would she step forward into the light, embracing both her family's honor and the budding connection with Jack? The room seemed to hold its breath, and in that charged moment, the true question hung in the air like a spark. Can love truly blossom when the shadows of the past threaten to eclipse the present? Emily's heart pounded as she inhaled deeply, gathering courage in the electric silence. The weight of every gaze felt heavy, but instead of shrinking back, a spark ignited within her. This was her moment, not just to speak, but to shine, to show that she was so much more than the mistakes of her past. Maybe some of you think you know where I come from, she started, her voice steady, surprising herself. The room seemed to lean in closer, curiosity suspended in the air like a breath held tight. But my story isn't one of luxury. It's filled with hard work, love, and resilience. Jack's smile encouraged her, his eyes warm and inviting, urging her to continue. She could almost hear her grandmother's voice, wrapped around her like a protective blanket, whispering to be proud of who she was. I grew up in a small town, waiting tables to help my family. My grandmother taught me everything I know about cooking and love. Everything she sacrificed, I'm grateful. A ripple of murmurs swept through the crowd, but Emily didn't falter. She pressed on. You may not believe it, but I have plans, big dreams of opening my diner, a place where everyone feels welcome. It's not glitzy, but it's real. It's home. The intensity of the moment hung palpably between her and the people around her. Some faces softened, realizing they were listening not to a nobody, but to someone with a fierce spirit and aspirations. Yet, fear clawed at her. Would they accept her truth? Just then, a sharp laughter sliced through the air, coming from a corner of the room. Emily's heart sank as she recognized Angela, a girl from her old life who seemed to thrive on disdain. Look at her. What a joke. She thinks she belongs here. Angela's voice echoed, malice lacing every word. Emily's cheeks flamed, and she felt the blood drain from her face. The laughter echoed like a haunting melody, and Emily's breath hitched. But then, she saw Jack's expression change. A protective frown knitted his brow, and he turned to Angela, silencing her with a piercing glare. You really think belittling someone makes you bigger? That's quite sad. The tension shifted like a tide. Emily looked at Jack, her heart swelling with a mix of gratitude and something deeper. Could he really see her beyond the labels? He stepped closer, exuding warmth and strength, as if she were the only person in the room. In that moment, she realized it was not just about proving something to the crowd or facing Angela. It was about embracing who she truly was, daring to own every piece of her past. I deserve to be here, Emily declared, the words strong and unwavering. I came to celebrate not just charity, but the love that fuels it. No matter where I come from, I'm worthy of dreaming big. We all are. The crowd fell into a hush, and Emily felt an unexpected swell of support. The shift was palpable. The whispers turned into murmurs of affirmation. She could feel Jack's pride radiating towards her. But as the dust began to settle and the murmurs shifted toward approval, doubts crept back. Would she be able to maintain this newfound strength? Was she truly ready to embrace a different life, especially one with Jack in it? Jack took her hand gently, grounding her in the moment. You've got this, he whispered, but was she ready for whatever came next? Just as she began to feel hopeful again, the gala host stepped up to the microphone, and the attention shifted once more. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special announcement that will change everything. Emily's heart raced again. What could this be? Would it upend the fragile confidence she'd begun to build? She glanced at Jack, uncertainty flooding her senses. The night had just begun, but what awaited them was already shrouded in mystery. The gala host's voice reverberated through the lavish hall, pulling every gaze toward the stage. Emily felt her heart thumping like a drum, competing with the murmurs of the crowd. What could possibly be so monumental? She took a steadying breath, squeezing Jack's hand, hoping he could sense the turmoil building inside her. Tonight, you've all gathered for a worthy cause, the host continued, his tone infectious. But what if I told you that the true reason everyone is here is more personal than charity? His eyes sparkled with mischief as he looked over the crowd. One of you has a secret that could change everything. The air turned electric. Emily felt every pulse of oxygen turn heavy, swirling in her chest. It felt as if the whole room had shifted its collective attention onto her. Doubt and anxiety clawed at her resolve. Who could this secret be about? She glanced at Jack. He was focused on the host, his expression a mix of curiosity and concern. But the warmth of his grip reminded her of the strength they had just discovered together. The crowd buzzed, whispers filling the air like confetti. Emily tried to read the faces around her, each one painted with wonder or suspicion. What was she missing? Suddenly, the host's finger pointed toward a seemingly ordinary gentleman in the back. Mr. Leon Caldwell, he exclaimed, grinning as recognition washed over the crowd. Whispers erupted like sparks in dry grass. Emily's heart raced not at the sound of the name but because of the uneasiness that settled over her. Leon Caldwell was a multi-billionaire known for his philanthropy, but also for his reclusive nature. Why was he here, and what did he have to do with her? As Leon rose, the room fell silent again. He stood tall, custom-tailored suit framing his athletic build. But as he approached, A nervous energy about him suggested that this was a moment he'd never expected to face. He took a deep breath, as if steeling himself, and turned to the crowd. "Thank you, everyone. I know this is unexpected, but I'm here to share something that has changed my life, not about my wealth or business ventures, but about love." Emily blinked in disbelief, the warmth of Jack's hand slipping from her grasp. "Leon? Love?" She could hardly connect the dots. Her mind swirled with the strange turn of fate. Could a true love story unfold before them, revealing how deeply interconnected their lives really were? He continued, "Recently, I found myself in the most extraordinary situation. I met someone who showed me that life nestled beneath my riches was real and meaningful, and I had never felt so alive." His voice grew stronger, fueled by passion. "Tonight, I want to introduce you all to the person who opened my eyes, Emily." Emily's breath caught in her throat. The spotlight seemed to zero in on her. Jack turned to her, eyes wide with shock, a million questions darting behind them. She felt the ground shift underneath her feet. Was this a mistake? Did he really mean her? "Emily," Leon urged, stepping closer, "will you join me up here?" Heat rushed to her cheeks as every face in the room turned toward her. Here she was, standing amid uncertainty, having just begun to embrace her identity. And now the very name that represented her growth and defiance was echoing through the gala like a song played out of tune. Jack's expression shifted from surprise to something more protective. The tension between them tightened as if the room were a balloon, likely to pop at any moment. As Emily made her way to the stage, apprehension twisted in her gut. She could feel the weight of expectations crashing down on her again. Did Leon's words arise from sincere admiration or mere coincidence? The spotlight felt hotter than ever as she climbed the steps. What would this mean for her? How would this affect her dreams? A diner where everyone belonged when she was suddenly part of an unexpected drama. The host grinned as she took her place beside Leon. With the crowd expectant, as if breathless in anticipation, she faced Leon, hoping to catch some hint of clarity. But what she didn't expect was the way her heart raced, not just from the spotlight but from the complexity of what lay ahead, teetering on her next move. What did Leon truly want to say? What had unlocked this path that intertwined with her own? The questions lingered, heavy in the air, holding the promise of a revelation that could change everything. Emily stood beside Leon, her heart pounding heavily against her ribs. It felt surreal, almost like being in a movie where everything was out of sync. She glanced out at the crowd, faces eager and curious, some whispering to one another, their eyes darting back and forth between her and Leon. "Emily," he said again, breaking the silence, "you have no idea how much you mean to me." His voice held a mix of sincerity and, dare she think it, desperation. She knew this was a pivotal moment, but she was caught off guard. Was she meant to respond? The words caught in her throat. "I don't understand." A ripple of concern flashed across Leon's face. He took a deep breath and continued. "When I first met you, I was just looking for a break from my life as a businessman. I didn't expect someone like you to make such an impact on my world." The shadows in the room seemed to shift. Emily felt the weight of his words. He was revealing something incredibly personal. Yet, confusion wrapped around her like a heavy cloak. The man next to her, someone admired by many, was looking at her, as if she were the only thing that mattered. But how could that be real? Jack's eyes searched hers from the audience. She could see concern mingled with hints of anger. Did he feel threatened? Was this a declaration? Or an attempt to pull her into a situation she wasn't ready for? "What do you mean by making an impact?" she finally managed, her voice trembling slightly. Leon paused, his gaze unwavering. "You showed me what really matters. Our conversations, the moments we shared, they felt genuine. They reminded me of who I was before I became this." He gestured vaguely to the opulence surrounding them. "And I don't want to lose you. I can't." Her heart twisted. This was not the revelation she had anticipated. "Leon, this is so sudden. I mean, we've only met a few times." "Exactly," he replied. "That's why it's so real. You have this ability to remind people that there's more to life than wealth and status." The audience inhaled collectively, hanging on every word, as if waiting for a dramatic twist. Leon took a step closer, his gaze focused solely on her, the noise of the room fading into a background hum. His vulnerability laid bare was palpable, adding warmth to the chill in the air. Emily felt exposed, her emotions flickering like an unstable flame. All the dreams she had nurtured felt under threat. She needed connection, but she was terrified of the implications this kind of connection carried. "And what would you have me do?" she asked, a fierce determination settling into her tone. "Follow you into this world? Live a life of expectations and scrutiny?" His eyes widened, a flare of realization igniting behind them. "No, not if you don't want that. I would never want you to compromise who you are. You should always pursue your dreams. But I want to be part of your journey." She was floored, a whirlwind of emotions battling inside her. She thought of her diner, her dream of a space where everyone belonged, inclusive and warm. Would she be trading that for a path paved in uncertainty and glittering wealth? "Emily," Leon began again, but Jack's voice suddenly broke through the thrumming tension. "This is insane." Every pair of eyes shifted toward Jack. He stood up, abandoning his seat in the audience, a fire igniting in his gaze. "You can't just throw out feelings like that without thinking." Silence descended. Emily's heart raced faster than before, a roller coaster of turmoil surging through her. Jack's protective instincts were furious, but she had to figure out her own heart first. What was she supposed to say? Did Leon's affection even make sense? She felt torn, her past, her dreams, and the unexpected present colliding in a deafening crash. But in this chaos, a spark of clarity flickered. Which path would she choose? The intricacy of her emotions deepened, spilling into the void between them. But suddenly, she realized that perhaps this wasn't about choosing. It was about understanding. "Leon, wait," she started, the weight of it all pressing on her. The atmosphere charged. Again, crackled with the tension of uncharted possibilities. What came next could shift everything she thought she knew about love, ambition, and the life she had envisioned. Could she navigate this storm, or would she be swept away by the tides of chance? Emily felt the electricity in the air, a palpable tension that twisted her stomach into knots. She looked from Leon's pleading eyes to Jack's fiery glare. The room felt too small, the weight of their gazes crushing down on her like a heavy blanket. She had expected life to be straightforward, but now here she stood, on the edge of something she couldn't quite comprehend. "Jack, just let him speak," Emily finally pleaded, her voice barely above a whisper. The last thing she wanted was to escalate things, yet the need to understand was overpowering. "No, Jack shot back, frustration bubbling over. "This isn't about letting him speak. It's about what's real. You can't let yourself be swept away by all this." He gestured around at the glamorous setting. "You're better than that." His words cut deep, a reminder of her roots, but Leon interjected. "I'm being genuine, Jack. Emily deserves to know how I feel without this hostility." The tension was thick, and Emily felt suffocated. Her thoughts raced. She could sense a rising wave of emotion cresting between them, threatening to crash down and leave nothing solid in its wake. "What's genuine?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "Is it a fleeting moment, a fancy speech under the lights? Or is it what happens when the lights go out and you're left with just you?" Leon hesitated, as though wrestling with her question. The crowd was silent, emotions flooding through them too, anticipation of the next volley. They were experiencing this tumult with her, as if they were all part of a play unfolding in some forgotten theater. I think Leon paused, collecting his thoughts. "Genuine is about the connection we build, no matter how brief. Yes, it's unexpected, but that doesn't diminish its value." Emily's heart raced, torn between wanting to believe him and fearing what those words might mean. "But what if this is just a spark?" she countered, desperation creeping into her tone. "A fleeting moment of passion? What happens when reality hits? That's the risk we take with any connection." Leon replied earnestly, stepping closer, closing the distance that felt miles wide. "We make ourselves vulnerable. But I don't want you to be alone in that. I want to be there, supporting you. Jack's expression shifted from anger to fear. Emily, you are not ordinary. You have so much potential. Why take the chance on someone like him? But have you ever thought, she countered, feeling a new conviction rise within her, that maybe this is about more than just the money or the lifestyle. Maybe it's about finding someone who sees me for who I am, not just the girl from the diner? Silence enveloped them again, and Emily felt the tide of her emotions swell. The realization of what she truly sought, the raw connection. The understanding made her pulse quicken. The crowd buzzed with murmurs, sensing the shift. Emily's gaze locked onto Leon's. What if you and I could really explore this connection? But only if you truly mean it. Then let us explore it, he said, determination sparking in his eyes. But on our terms. No expectations. Just two people who wish to see what could be. But then, another voice broke the moment. You don't know what you're getting into, Em. It was Jack again. His expression a mixture of fear and heartbreak. You could get hurt. He lives in a world you can't change. The air crackled with tension again. Emily felt the tremor of indecision dance through her as uncertainty loomed large over her heart. Did she have the strength to face this uncharted territory? Could she trust herself to navigate these dangerous waters? Emily, Leon said softly, his eyes urging her to decide. In that moment, she felt she stood at a crossroads, each path marked by uncertainty, yet illuminated by hope. With so much at stake, would she dare to take a step forward, risking everything she thought she knew about love and ambition? Suddenly, as if to amplify this moment of truth, a brilliant flash of light illuminated the room, signaling the arrival of unexpected guests. Who were they, and how would their presence shift the narrative unfolding between Emily, Leon, and Jack? The brilliant flash stunned the crowd, eliciting gasps that echoed like ripples through water. Shadows danced across Emily's face, momentarily obscuring her expression. But then she turned, along with everyone else, to see who had entered. A tall figure draped in an elegant silver dress stepped into the room, her confidence radiating like the glow surrounding her. It was Lila, Leon's sister, and with her came an entourage that blazed with wealth and privilege. The laughter behind her sounded like crystal chimes ringing in the air, drawing attention as they paraded through the gathering. Emily's heart sank as she realized this was more than just a social visit. Jack's jaw clenched, and Leon's expression shifted to one of irritation mixed with anticipation. This wasn't just another distraction. Lila was a powerful presence who could tip the balance in an instant. Leon. Lila cried out, her voice melodious yet sharp, slicing through the heavy atmosphere. There you are. I thought I'd find you brooding at some quaint corner, far from the real excitement. She cast a knowing look at Emily. Lila, Leon responded, trying to keep his irritation concealed. This isn't the best time. Can we not the best time? Lila cut in, her tone playful yet commanding. Oh, come now. You're missing all the fun. Just look at this place. She waved her hands to emphasize the lavish decor and the murmuring crowd. You should be celebrating, not sulking. Emily felt the weight of Lila's gaze, her mind racing. Suddenly, she was caught between worlds again, the glamorous and the familiar, the uncertainty of her feelings and the allure of Leon's life. She sensed Jack's presence beside her, a grounding force, yet she couldn't tear her eyes away from the dazzling woman who held the crowd's attention. Who is this? Lila asked, directing her gaze at Emily with an arched eyebrow. Did you pick her up at the coffee shop again, Leon? Is this your latest project? To charm the locals? Something inside Emily snapped. I'm not a project, she stated, her voice steady despite the tremor of insecurity. I'm not some charity case for you or anyone else. Jack looked at her in awe, surprised by her sudden fierceness. Lila took a step back, her eyes widening momentarily, but she quickly recovered with a playful smile. Oh, darling, I didn't mean it that way. I just find it fascinating how someone from she emphasized the word, a different background can do so well in this setting. Leon stepped forward, his irritation boiling over. She is more than that, Lila. She is someone I care about. In that moment, the room shifted, the air thickening with tension. Lila's teasing demeanor faded, replaced by something colder. Care about? That's cute. But you know how this world of ours works. Her voice dropped to a whisper, yet it held a sharp edge. It isn't always about feelings. It's about what people can offer. What kind of family are you? Jack said, age-old anger surfacing. You treat people like they're expendable. Please, Lila scoffed, winking at the crowd that continued to watch. You're all so dramatic. This is a celebration, but if you're going to turn this into a soap opera, I'll be happy to leave you to it. Emily's heart raced as she faced Leon, uncertainty clouding her mind. Was this really the world she wanted to step into? Could she withstand the pressure from someone like Lila? Leon looked between her and his sister, a storm brewing behind his eyes. Why can't you just let me find my own path? Lila? She straightened, crossing her arms defiantly. Because you're hurting yourself. This girl, this isn't who you are meant to be with. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Those words echoed like a bell in her mind, sending chills down her spine. Would she really venture into this world where connections were so easily dismissed? Could she stand against that kind of pressure? As the crowd whispered and Lila's gaze burned into her, Emily felt the fight ignite within her. But how far was she willing to go for a chance at love? Just then, a loud clap shattered the building tension, drawing every eye back to the front. All right, everyone, it's time for a surprise. The event organizer's voice boomed, anticipation crackling in the air. What surprise lay in store? Emily's heart raced as she sensed that everything was about to change. Yet again, would she embrace the whirlwind ahead, or disappear into the shadows? The spotlight was shifting, and the real danger was just beginning. The gasp from the crowd was audible, a collective breath held in anticipation. Emily stood frozen, her pulse quickening as she saw the event organizer, a petite woman with a bright smile, beckoning the crowd to quiet down. This was not just a surprise. It was an invitation to step further into the life she'd just begun to explore. Ladies and gentlemen, the organizer said, her voice echoing across the expansive room, we have a very special announcement tonight. She leaned closer to the microphone, and the room hushed to a whisper. Please welcome to the stage our guest of honor, Mr. Robert Sinclair. The crowd erupted into applause as a middle-aged man stepped into the spotlight. His presence commanded attention, his tailored suit screaming sophistication and power. Emily felt a knot in her stomach tighten. She'd heard whispers about Robert Sinclair, one of the wealthiest men in the country, a titan in the business world. As he took the mic, Emily could feel Lila's grip on the room. The energy shifted as everyone leaned in, eager for the words of someone so influential. She stole a glance at Leon, who was watching his sister with growing annoyance mixed with concern. Thank you, Sinclair began, his voice deep and smooth. Tonight is not just a celebration of success, but of community. He paused, and the crowd erupted in cheers. I want to take a moment to acknowledge those who work behind the scenes, the unsung heroes. He gestured, inviting a group of people from the back to join him on stage. They were everyday folks, teachers, nurses, and those who made a difference. Emily felt a swell of emotion rise in her chest. As applause rippled through the audience, Lila rolled her eyes, clearly unimpressed. He's just putting on a show, she murmured, the distaste evident in her tone. But Emily felt differently. This was a glimpse into a world that had glamour intertwined with genuine warmth, a possible bridge between her two realities. Suddenly, Sinclair's gaze swept the audience, and his eyes landed on Emily. For a brief moment, everything felt like it slowed down. The weight of his look pressed down on her, as if he saw right through her and recognized the struggle in her heart. He spoke again, a smile breaking his serious demeanor. And I want to thank each of you here tonight for believing in our vision. The sincerity of his words hit home. Emily realized she had been so focused on the chasm between her life and theirs that she hadn't recognized the potential for connection. Why can't everyone be like him? Jack whispered beside her, each word heavy with longing to escape the pitfalls of privilege. Emily turned to him, a mix of determination and uncertainty clouding her vision. What if they could be? She replied, her voice shaking slightly. What if this is the change we need? Before Jack could respond, the event organizer stepped in again, directing the crowd's attention. Now, get ready, because we have something very special planned for Mr. Sinclair. The challenge? He must find true love in 5 minutes. Gasps echoed, and laughter filtered through the crowd. Emily's heart raced. This was not just about social media stunts or silly games. It was a genuine test of connection amidst the chaos of wealth. Robert smiled charmingly, clearly aware of the light-hearted challenge. He avoided Lila's critical gaze, scanning the room with keen intent. Would he see through the facades the way she had? The music softened, creating an intimate atmosphere as he offered his challenge. I promise to be an honest man in love, he declared, his voice washing over the crowd. But I need a partner. Who dares to step forward? Emily's heart thudded loudly in her chest. She felt the urge to raise her hand, to dive into the unknown. But Lila's dismissive look warned her off. Would she let herself be swept up in this or hold back, tethered by fear? As whispers filled the air, and potential partners began to step forward, Emily felt the weight of her decision looming. Would she dare to change everything? The choice hung in the air. What would happen if she answered the call when the clock began ticking? Emily's heart raced as she felt the pull of the moment. Her gaze wandered back to Robert Sinclair, who was now scanning the crowd with an intensity that made her stomach flutter. It felt as if he was waiting, just waiting, for someone to take that leap. The people around her cheered, urging their friends to step forward, but she remained rooted to the spot, torn between the pull of excitement and the weight of her hesitation. Come on, Jack urged softly, his eyes filled with encouragement. What do you have to lose? She swallowed hard, the knot in her throat tightening further. It wasn't just about stepping up. It was about stepping into a world she barely understood, one that felt both thrilling and frighteningly foreign. But the flicker of something real in Sinclair's eyes, something beyond wealth and status, beckoned to her. Suddenly, she caught sight of Lila, rolling her eyes again at the spectacle. The disdain on her face was palpable. Don't be ridiculous, Lila said under her breath, tugging Emily's arm. You can't possibly think he's serious. But in that very moment, Robert's gaze locked onto Emily. A spark of recognition crossed his face, a hint of intrigue. It felt like a silent challenge. Would she choose to step out of the shadows and embrace herself? Without another thought, she raised her hand. The crowd erupted in cheers. Some celebrated her daring, while others gasped in disbelief. Lila's grip on her arm tightened, but Emily didn't look back. She was stepping into the light. Robert's face broke into a wide smile as he gestured for her to join him on stage. The way he looked at her, like she was the only person in the room, ignited an unexpected warmth within her. As she walked toward him, her mind raced with questions. Am I really doing this? What will happen next? As she approached, the crowd buzzed with excitement. Robert extended his hand, and in that moment, all her nervousness faded into the background. She grasped his hand firmly and felt an electric jolt run through her. What's your name? He asked, his eyes sparkling with genuine interest. Emily, she managed to say, her heart thumping louder than ever. This was it. The moment she crossed from observer to participant. From shy dreamer to someone who dared to believe she mattered. Emily, he repeated softly. Are you ready for this challenge? Yes, she replied, the determination clear in her voice. Great. Here's the first question, he said, stepping closer. What do you believe true love feels like? She took a breath, trying to sort through the swirl of thoughts and feelings. True love, it feels like home, she began, recalling the stories she had heard about connection and warmth, about feeling safe and cherished, like finding someone who sees you for who you really are. The crowd gasped, the energy palpable. Robert nodded, visibly moved. Perfect, because I want to give you a chance to find that. Now, let's see if your understanding of love matches that of others in this room. He glanced out at the audience. You might have some competition, ladies and gentlemen. As different people stepped forward, declaring their own perspectives on love. Emily stood stunned. Each shared sentiment echoed in her heart, leading her to search more deeply within herself. Would they understand? Did she truly have the courage to connect with someone when the stakes were this high? Then, without warning, Robert paused and turned back to her, his expression shifting to one of sincerity. But I have to ask, what makes you unique? Why should I choose you over anyone else? The question hung heavy in the air, and Emily felt every eye on her. In that moment, she realized that this wasn't just a light-hearted game. This was about revealing her true self, about uncovering the parts of her that she kept hidden for far too long. Because I believe people can change, she said, her voice steady, and that's worth betting on. Robert looked at her with newfound respect, and for the first time, she saw more than just a billionaire. She saw a man willing to listen, a man searching for something meaningful. The clock above them ticked down, but Emily felt time slowing as their connection deepened. She realized she wasn't just playing a game, she was on the verge of discovering something she thought had faded away from her life. But would he truly be willing to take that leap with her? As the clock struck 0, the challenge intensified. Emily knew that everything was about to change. The air buzzed with anticipation. What awaited them both? The energy in the room shifted as the crowd erupted into nervous chatter. Emily stood there, heart pounding, her mind racing with the implications of her words. Robert Sinclair leaned closer, an amused yet serious expression dancing on his face, as if he was measuring the truth of her claim. Change is the essence of love, I senti it? He mused, letting her words linger in the air. But what if I told you I've been waiting for someone just like you? His comment sent a wave of warmth through her, but self-doubt crept in quickly. What did he mean by someone like her? Did he see something in her that she couldn't see? The world felt dizzying under her feet, the cheers of the audience mixing with the rapid pulse of uncertainty in her chest. The next round, Robert announced, a playful glint in his eye, involves a bit more personal challenges. Are you up for it, Emily? Just as she nodded, the room quieted down, everyone's gaze shifting from Robert to her, curious and expectant. The challenge was multifaceted, and much to her surprise, she felt a surge of determination. She wanted to make her mark, to show them she wasn't just a shy girl lost in a lavish party. This was her moment to shine. First question for both you and the audience. Robert called out, his voice smooth and confident. What is the greatest risk you've ever taken in your life? Emily took a deep breath, her thoughts wrapping around her past. This was it. She had to be vulnerable, to let others see the real her, an aspect of herself she kept so carefully hidden. I think one of the biggest risks was leaving my hometown. She began, her voice steadying as she spoke. I was scared of losing everything, but the fear of never trying was worse. I took a leap of faith to build a life I could be proud of, to find love in unexpected places. The room was silent, hanging on her every word. Robert's face softened, admiration shining in his eyes. She could sense his understanding reaching beyond the surface. One risk worth taking, he nodded thoughtfully, is the risk of being open to love in whatever form it takes. Cheers erupted again from the audience, a wave of excitement fueling her. She felt like she could touch the sky, riding on the high of this exhilarating moment. But then doubt snuck back in where her feelings reciprocated. As more people shared their stories, Emily listened, each voice weaving a tapestry of struggles, dreams, and love. The connections felt palpable, each story resonating with fragments of her own experiences. As the final person wrapped up their story, Robert turned back to Emily with a gravity she hadn't expected. Show us how to find love in unexpected places. Emily, share your heart. The room fell into a hushed anticipation, the weight of his request settling on her shoulders. She was terrified but electrified. Just as she gathered her thoughts, Lila's voice pierced through the moment. Come on, don't embarrass yourself. This isn't a fairy tale. Lila sneered, making Emily's heart thud against her ribcage. Lila's words should have shattered her confidence, but instead, they ignited something deeper. Actually, Emily replied, shaking off the negativity, this is my fairy tale. And I welcome love, in any form, even when it's scary. The bravery in her voice surprised even her, but the sentiment resonated deeply within her. The crowd erupted in cheers, but as she looked at Robert, she caught a flicker of something else in his expression. Could that truly be admiration? As the applause faded, Robert stepped closer again. You've shown courage tonight, Emily. But let us see if there's more beneath the surface. Before she could gauge what he meant, he gestured for a surprise challenge to the audience, something she couldn't quite anticipate. Trust me, he said, leaning closer, his voice low and intense. You're not just stepping forward for this chance. You're stepping into a path that might change your life forever. Emily felt her heart race and her breath catch in her throat. What did he mean? What does this challenge hold? And as the lights dimmed, she knew in that moment, everything was about to change. Would she dare to follow him into the unknown? The anticipation buzzed heavy in the air, and Emily had no idea where it would lead. The lights dimmed, and the crowd fell silent, anticipation buzzing in the air like a current. Emily stood at the threshold of something monumental, a moment that could alter the course of her life. She glanced around, taking in the sea of faces that watched her, waiting for her next move. Anxiety surged within, but so did a fierce determination. She could do this. She had to. As Robert Sinclair took a step closer. His warm gaze melted some of her apprehension. We're going to truly test the bonds of connection tonight, he said, inviting her to share her own vision of love with the audience. Suddenly, it became clear to her this wasn't about riches or status. It was about finding the truth in connection, love, and vulnerability. This is what she had always desired, a space to be honest. I think, Emily began, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her heart, that love is about being brave enough to let people truly see you, no matter where you come from or what your past holds. It's about being real and raw and believing that we deserve happiness. A wave of warm applause washed over her, breaking the tension she had felt earlier. The audience was with her. This support echoed back the strength of her convictions. Each clap a reminder that she was not just the girl from the diner, she was a dreamer, a fighter. And maybe love isn't perfect, she continued. It's messy, it's complicated, and sometimes it feels just out of reach. But it's out there for everyone, even for someone like me. She paused, her gaze moving from Robert to Jack, the contrast between them stark yet meaningful. True love isn't just about wealth or status. It's about shared moments, deep conversations, and any kind of connection that makes us feel alive. Robert nodded, clearly engaged. And what kind of risks are you willing to take to find this love? He asked, leaning in with genuine curiosity, as the room held its breath. To take a chance, she replied, her heart racing. To dare stepping into the unknown. To put my heart on the line. To embrace whoever comes into my life, like Leon and Jack have. I'm worthy of being seen, of being recognized for who I truly am. The applause swelled again, louder this time, and she felt emboldened by their cheers. Jack's expression softened, a mix of admiration and something else lingering in his eyes. Maybe he realized that her journey wasn't just a choice between two men. It was about self-discovery. Suddenly, Lila stepped forward, arms crossed defiantly. What about the reality of your situation, Emily? She shot. Don't forget, the glitzy life is enticing. Why would you settle for less? Emily's heart thudded in her chest. Because I don't want to settle. I want a place where I can foster connections that matter, not just with wealth or status, but with honesty and integrity. I want to build my diner, a space that celebrates love and belonging for everyone. For a moment, reality stood still. Lila's face fell slightly, and Robert frowned at his sister, seemingly grappling with the implications of Emily's words. Through the whispers and confusion, the crowd started cheering again, chanting her name. She felt the warmth spreading through her. This was their rallying cry. Jack stepped forward, his face lit with admiration. I get it now, His voice broke through the noise, filled with sincerity. You aren't just running from your past. You're defining your future. Their gazes locked, and in that moment, An understanding passed between them. Robert turned to Emily, respect and excitement sparkling in his eyes. You are remarkably brave, and I want to support your vision, not just as a wealthy benefactor, but as someone who believes in what you're building. Before she could respond, the applause erupted again, this time resonating within her soul. This thunderous affirmation felt like a turning point. She wasn't just here. She belonged. In a rush of newfound confidence, she spoke to the crowd. Together, we can build a community of family, really that supports each other's dreams. I'm ready to step into this world wherever it leads. With eyes shining bright, she turned to Robert. Let us explore this connection. But on our terms, no expectations, just honesty. Robert smiled, a sense of relief crossing his face. That's exactly what I was hoping for. The air buzzed, and Leon stepped back into her line of sight. You're incredible, Emily, he said, joy palpable in his voice. A diner filled with love? That's a dream worth pursuing. As the approval from the crowd swelled into a deafening roar, Emily felt an overwhelming sense of belonging and empowerment. This was her transformation, her moment of truth. Among the glitz of wealth and the whispers of expectation, she stood tall, ready for whatever came next, embracing love in all its forms, her heart open wide. The celebration shifted as the crowd began to dance, laughter echoing through the hall. Emily smiled at Jack, who returned her gaze with warmth and support. Whatever paths they chose, they would both thrive, intertwined with determination and hope. And in that beautiful chaos, she realized something essential. Love, in any form, can set you free. So let us build together. This is your moment, too. If you've enjoyed this story, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your support is what keeps this journey going.